everyone, I'm Hayden, an English teacher of Langmaster learning system. In the next video, we will learn some secrets to improve your vocabulary. Firstly, we will talk about the best way to improve your English vocabulary. Now, what is this best way to improve your vocabulary? If you ask this question to English teachers or other English learners, they will tell you the same thing. They'll tell you that the best way to build your vocabulary is to learn vocabulary in context by listening and reading a lot. And I completely agree with this. That is the best way to increase your vocabulary. So this is common sense, right? Everybody knows that. This topic is so boring. But there's a problem. Common sense is not common action. Everybody knows how to improve their vocabulary, but most people don't do it because they spend too much time on things like social media and funny cat videos. Now, if regular listening and reading is a common practice for you, then congratulations, you don't need to watch this video. But if it's not a common practice for you yet, let me convince you to start listening and reading on a regular basis. I'm going to share with you 2 other benefits you'll get from applying this habit. I'm also going to share with you some listening and reading materials at the end of this video. So let's get started. The first benefit you'll get is intuition. What is intuition? Well, let's say that you come across a multiple choice question about English grammar. You look at the choices and you know immediately what the correct answer is. You don't know the grammar rule that explains it. There's no reasoning behind it. It just feels right. That's intuition. It comes from taking in a lot of input by listening and reading. Unfortunately, some people don't appreciate the power of intuition. They learn vocabulary in a very strange way. They don't learn words in context. Instead, they find a list of words and memorize the meaning of each word one by one. This seems like a good idea. They're learning a lot of new words in a short period of time. There's only one problem with this. It's stupid. Just because we know the meaning of a word doesn't mean that we can use it. It's not enough. We also need to know how the word is used. Now, I'm sure that you already know this, right? You're not one of those people. You already know that it's much better to learn vocabulary by listening and reading. Because when you do that, you're not only improving your vocabulary, but also grammar, sentence structure, and so on. Over time, you will become an independent learner. It means that you will have the ability to improve your English without help from other people. And that's really cool. Let's talk about the second benefit of this habit. The second benefit is an increase in brain power. Just like how a muscle needs physical exercise to become stronger, your brain needs mental exercise to grow as well. Regular listening and reading is a great mental exercise. It improves so many functions of the brain. When you listen to someone speaking, you have to stay focused. This improves your attention. And if they're speaking really fast, you're also training your brain to process information faster, which leads to better comprehension. Reading is great too. It improves your memory. When you read a novel, you need to remember lots of details, like the names of the characters, their backgrounds, the plot, and so on. Some books even increase your intelligence. Reading certain types of books improves the way you think. And these are just a few benefits. There are so many other benefits that I didn't even mention here. Now you might be thinking, why should I care about my brain power? Well, because it will play a huge role in your English language development, especially if you're trying to improve your spoken English. For non-native English speakers like you, speaking English requires a lot of effort. It places great demand on so many cognitive functions like memory, attention, auditory processing, reasoning, and so on. So, if you want to speak English well, you're going to need to have a strong, healthy brain with lots of power. And by the way, if you're not living in an English-speaking country, this habit is a must. And I'm speaking from my students' experience here, because they've never been to an English-speaking country, but they can speak English well. If you're in the same situation, the only way for you to immerse yourself in the English language is by applying this simple but powerful habit. I guarantee that you will love the results. So do yourself a favor by start exercising your brain today. Click here to get some listening materials. Or if you feel like reading, click here for my reading recommendations. You can also find these links in the description below. If you really want to change your English speaking and listening skills, make a decision and join our Langmaster learning system. We'll help you speak English easily, fluently, and automatically. I'm Hayden from Langmaster Learning System. Goodbye and see you next time. Hello everybody, I'm Hayden, an English teacher of Langmaster Learning System. In this video, I'm going to share with you a technique that you can use to remember English vocabulary. And the reason that I recommend this technique is that it's pretty effective. I actually did a small experiment. I created 2 lists of words that I didn't know, and I just tried to memorize the words in each list. I did not use any technique to memorize the first list. It was just pure repetition. But for the second list, I used the technique that you're about to learn. The next day, I tried to recall the meanings of the words in both lists. For the first list, I was able to recall only 12%. But for the second list, I recalled as much as 50%. This is pretty impressive considering the fact that I spent only 1 minute memorizing each word. So let me explain the technique. So let's say we want to remember the word adroit, which means clever or skillful at something, really good at something. The first thing we need to do is come up with another word that sounds similar to this word. And that word must refer to something that we can visualize, something that we can see in our mind. So for this word, the substitute word could be the word android, which means a robot, right? Adroit and android sound pretty close to each other. We could also use the phrase a drawing. That sounds similar as well. Adroit, a drawing. What these words have in common is that they refer to something that we can visualize. And this is a very important point, and you're going to find out why soon. So we have 2 options here, but let's use the word android as the substitute word. Now visualize an android. You know, a robot that looks like a human. Next, we have to associate this image to the meaning of the word that we want to remember. And again, the meaning is skillful at something. That's the meaning. So perhaps we can imagine the android doing something that requires a lot of skill. Maybe we can imagine the android playing the guitar on stage. Maybe there's a competition going on and we can imagine other guitarists coming up on stage and trying to compete with the android. But everybody loses because the android is very good at playing the guitar. The android is adroit at playing the guitar. So what we're trying to do here is associate the pronunciation with the meaning through an image or a story. We're creating an association between them. So when you come across this word again, the pronunciation will remind you of the association and therefore the meaning of the word. Let's take a look at one more example. Suppose we want to memorize the word lambaste, which means to criticize someone or something harshly. For the first syllable, lamb, we can use lamb, the animal, or lamp, the thing that generates light, as the substitute word. For the second syllable, based, we can use bass, the musical instrument. And I also happen to have a friend named Bass. So personally, I can use his name as the substitute word as well. But let's use lamb, the animal, and bass, the musical instrument, together. So we can imagine a lamb playing the bass. But unfortunately, the lamb is really terrible at playing the bass. So the bass gets angry and starts criticizing the lamb. The bass is lambasting the lamb. Okay, that's it. I hope you find this video useful. If you really want to change your English speaking and listening skills, make a decision and join our Langmaster learning system. We'll help you speak English easily, fluently, and automatically. I'm Hayden from Langmaster Learning System. Goodbye and see you next time.